I just want to talk about a basic mistake that I see with so many amateur golfers. It's just surprising, and it's one of those things that with inside a golf lesson or with inside like an online analysis or something, you just mention it as a passing comment and you explain the problem that it causes, but you kind of realise upon reflection, actually, when they come back with feedback, they're like, you know what, I can't believe how much better that made things. And it's often with golf, it's the small things that can have the biggest difference on an immediate impact, if that makes sense. So if you're somebody who's trying to change the way you hit the golf ball, you kind of are going to be accepting that you're on a little bit of a journey, or you should be, okay? And what you want to be doing is just sort of having some sort of progressive step-by-step thing that you're trying to work on. But when it comes to that sort of immediate change, that sort of comes from just subtle little tips. And I want to talk about the width of stance, because basically, give it context. The reason why the width of stance is so important is because in the golf swing the pelvis has to shift from right and left. It has to, because the problem is if you don't allow your pelvis to move from the right into the left, you can't produce a tilt. Now let's focus on the downswing, because it's more important that the pelvis shifts towards the lead side like so. So if my pelvis shifts towards the lead side, it creates a tilt, and then by creating a tilt, what it does, it gives me the ability to sort of shape my hands like this so that my club can whip up on the ball. And the best analogy is just imagine an archer. It's the same sort of concept. But if we eliminate this shift, do you see what I mean? We lose this. So if your stance is too narrow, you can't shift the pelvis, right? Because you'd lose balance. So what we are looking for, quite simply, is a width of stance where if you were to draw a line vertically on the outside of either hip, it would fall on the instep of the ankle. And what that is, that's kind of like your gateway. And that's the necessary amount of movement then you can create. So my pelvis can freely now move to my right side and to my left side. Now, in what sequence would be different for different golfers. Some golfers shift early to the trail side and then they fall back towards the lead side. Some golfers shift on the trail side, they stay there in the backswing and then they shift to the left in transition. That's pretty irrelevant. But what I'm basically saying is the reason why it's important to understand pelvic shift is because you need a tilt. And your spine needs to be tilted coming in towards the downswing so that basically my hands can go this way. If my spine's too vertical, then my hands can't go. Do you see what I mean? And then this is why you tend to find golfers end up pulling up. So work on your width of stance. Understand that your width of stance means more than just standing there. It literally means it gives you the ability to shift to the lead side, and practice that. If you're somebody who's got to know, you now know you should be widening your stance, then shift it more. But then when you shift it more, you should start to notice the way it's easier to get things like your trail shoulder down. It's easier to shift weight pressure more naturally towards your lead side. And then from there, you can equally just start practicing getting the club whipping through the ball a little bit more. Simple tip, but invaluable. See you soon.